Jacob in California. Love it. We've got some theists today. Hi, Jacob. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Doing good. Happy to have Darrel on the call with us. So what can we help you with today?
Yes. I did not know that there was a different guest today, but yeah, that's been good to listen to so far. You guys have done a very good job. So anyway, I just wanted to clear up something from my last call. I was calling in talking about a Deuteronomy passage that talks about what happens to a convicted rapist, and then in a passage for a few verses down.
Oh, you're that Jacob.
Yes, I'm that Jacob. Yes, I figured you would remember once we got onto it. So I just wanted to clear something up real quick. I am not a rape apologist. I got called that by, I don't remember if it was one of you two exactly, but I seem to remember being called that, and then the whole Talk Heathen community was just going on about it. I am the exact opposite of that. My point of the whole call was to say that rape is not okay ever, and God doesn't think so either, because he condemns it with death. So anyway, just wanted to clear that up. If you want to talk about it, we can.
You don't want to talk about that with me. Let's move on to something else.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to clear that up. Not a rape apologist. I'm the exact opposite, and I think God condemns it with death is pretty clear. So anyway, moving on, though, to the other reason of the call was I've noticed this phenomenon, if you want to call it that, that atheists tend to call out confirmation bias and won't accept, Christian scholars on a lot of things, which is understandable. But then they're so willing to accept atheist scholars on things. They accept their own confirmation biases, but they call out Christian confirmation bias just left and right.
Okay, can you define confirmation bias for me in this way? Because I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing.
Okay, yeah, sure. So as I understand it, it's I believe something, and someone gives me a piece of evidence for it or something to support the thing I believe, and I believe it without necessarily checking if it's true or not.
Okay. So that sort of kind of. I'm actually in the middle of doing a video specifically on confirmation bias and cognitive biases in general on my own channel. That's in the works now. And there's some pretty interesting research that there is a lot of neurological reasons and evolutionary reasons why we have cognitive biases, and confirmation bias is one of those. So the reason a lot of people have confirmation bias is because when you are processing information in your brain, that's basically all your brain is an information processor, and it categorizes things, and it makes it easier for you to move through the world by telling you stories about things, right? And so confirmation bias is when your brain goes, oh, I already know this. I don't need to look at this. I'm filing this under okay, so that we can then move forward. And a lot of the time it makes sense, right? I say apple, you might think of a red apple. That's your brain making an assumption based on prior experience. You don't need to ask, wait, what kind of apple color are you talking about here? I need to double check this. It's okay. Your brain goes, oh, we know that, filing that away, moving forward, looking for something new and interesting. So everybody has confirmation bias, absolutely everyone. And you can do as much as you want and can, and you should, to remove confirmation bias from your research processes, especially if you're asking a question that might have an emotional component for you. But I don't think that it's useful to say one group or another does this more or less, because that seems like a pretty big generalization. So can you give me maybe a specific where you have maybe interacted with atheists who have done this? Is this a personal thing that you're thinking about, or just in general? Help me out here. Be a little more specific.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It's a pretty broad generalization. Yeah. So I guess just in my personal life, yeah, and I have engaged with so this is not an attack on the Talk Heathen community before I say what I'm about to say, because there are some very good people that I've had some very good conversations with. Just a lot of the time, though, I was getting hit with these sort of cliche answers like, well, there's zero evidence for the Bible. And then I would present some, and they would say, that's not evidence, such as manuscripts, dating within 30 years of the event and numbering more than 20,000, which is more than any other historical record, like Alexander the Great, for example. We have more evidence that Jesus walked the earth than Alexander the Great did. Stuff like that. And it would just get immediately dismissed. And so, yeah, it is just my personal encounters. I'm not really going to name drop because it wouldn't help. any.
Right. And we don't want to encourage
noticed that-
drama or tea on this channel as much as possible.
Sure,
So,
totally. Right.
yeah, I think the thing here to keep in mind is that everyone does this, and I am calling out atheists left and right who do this as well, and so do a lot of other people in the ACA. So yes, you are going to come across some atheists who say there's no evidence, and then you present some evidence, and maybe it's bad evidence, but it's still evidence, right? And so instead of saying, oh, okay, well, I amend my statement, they double down, et cetera, et cetera. That happens. It happens in every conversation about every possible topic. My concern here.
Yeah, and just for the record too, I come across that in the Christian community, and I do the same thing. Just so we're clear, I don't tolerate it if someone believes what I believe either. If they say something crazy, I'm like, no, that's wrong. Let me show you why. So anyway.
No, exactly. It is a universal thing. So I guess my biggest question here is that why do we care? Is this a concern that?
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, yes, I agree. Everyone does that. Christians do it. Atheists do it.
And it sounds like you agree. So it's not much of a disagreement. And didn't mean to make it for a boring call, but it was something I had noticed. I wanted to see where your thoughts were on it. Sounds like you are far more honest about it than some I have come across. Some Christians too, right? So not just atheists, but so that's good. It's good that you're aware of it. I figured if anyone would be, it would be you guys, the hosts of the show here. So I just wanted to bring that up and maybe remind the community that's watching, just to check your answers, even if they're supporting your atheist claims, because there are PhDs and doctorates and people like Robert Jastrow, the former director of NASA and stuff like that, guys who are really, really smart, accredited, would be accepted as smart anywhere, who believe in Christ, who believe in God. And so not every single one of them can be nutbag.
Yeah, well,
So it's just good to double check your reasons.
Yes, I think we all agree. If you're going to be arguing something, make sure you check it if you can, and be willing to say you're wrong. I made a error on the show just a minute ago, and I self-corrected. That's okay, and it'll make people trust you more if you can self-correct. So yeah, I think we agree on that. Thanks for calling in, Jacob. All right. It was that Jacob, you guys.
Deuteronomy, Jacob.
Deuteronomy, Jacob. Yeah. So
I was ready to go there, but I'm glad you didn't.